Michael, good God, 2 nights in a row. We're like the Mets and the Braves, just back to back, high leverage situations. The Mets took care of business. We'll take care of business.
People
Uh,
aren't going to believe it's two separate nights because I'm wearing the same outfit as I wore last night.
well, it's been a long day. And I know you had some 2-year-old problems tonight as you were trying to get ready for the podcast. So I know it's been a
Yeah,
harried evening.
the argument between the difference of a cow and a bull turned unfortunate,
Well, it's
and a lack
unfortunate.
of him. Yeah, he didn't want to eat dinner, and then it just spiraled. So yeah, we're in a phase right now. We're working through it.
It's difficult. Are you talking about you and your wife or the kid? I mean, who's
I
working
think
through
it's
it?
it's it's permeating throughout the house. So
It's amazing how a 2-year-old can just splinter a house.
oh yeah, and he's too young to like the Santa's watching is not working. Like that's
Yeah,
not
it's not
resonating
there
with
yet.
him.
Yeah, he's on the divide and conquer plan. He doesn't even know it yet. So,
Yeah.
hey, dude, thanks for being 2 nights in a row. We had, for those of you who don't know, we recorded an E9 podcast last night, so there won't be any golf in 2 days podcast. We usually have a little golf segment, but if you want to go back and listen to the season finale, it was a raucous podcast last night that talks about President's Cup and what we liked about 2024 and what we didn't like about 2024. Is that fair? And what we think is going to happen in 2025. We checked all those boxes. I think we did a
Yeah,
pretty good job of that.
it was a good pod for you being uber prepared and me not being prepared. It ended up being a great pod. I
You
would
knocked,
encourage everyone to go listen.
it's awesome. You knocked it out of the park, and it's a big week for us also, Michael. Free drop. Our sponsor is live. The website is up. The store is open. It's fun to actually be able to tell people what we are, what we're doing, our mission to help children's charities, nonprofits to support children's healthcare and education initiatives. We'll be partnering with those. That's what our business is all about. We'll be promoting those agencies on our podcast. We are sponsoring St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, home state of Tennessee, kind of the home of the E9 podcast at the very least, if not the entire company. So it's fun to get that kicked off. If you're interested, please go to freedrop.org and you can see everything we have laid out for you. We're growing this thing into the spring next year when we actually launch our major line of apparel and merchandise. But there's a little, if you get in there early, there's a little vintage drop package for you. We have a bundle that is a limited series. So there's only so many out there. If you want them, grab them now.
Yeah, please get this stuff out of Josh's living room.
Please, it's ready to go. So it's exciting to have that behind us. And Mike, what's not exciting is being a New England fan right now. And I want to ask you as a masshole, when you have this type of fall, no Red Sox in the playoffs, New England, no good. NBA is still really 3 months away from being anything interesting. There's really not college football up there in the Northeast where you're from. I mean,
Whoa, Billy O'Brien has Chestnut Hill buzzing.
oh, good Lord, settle down. What do you got? Is that what you got? I mean,
No,
what do you, that's why
no.
you're transplanted, right? You just look
You
at
have
SEC football.
you have Jeremy Swayman contract controversy with the Bruins, and you have everyone bitching and moaning about the Patriots sucking. Even the Red Sox got a little bit of a pass this year because see, that's the beauty of the Patriots sucking is the Red Sox get to fly under the radar. Like the Red Sox just had a terrible season, another waste season, and everyone's kind of like gave it its day. Like, yeah, you guys sucked. You don't care, John Henry. You don't care about the team anymore. And then it's gone now that everyone's just back to complaining about the Patriots. So, yeah,
Well, hey,
it's
you've
a
had it pretty good,
dark
man,
winter.
for a long time. You got the Celtics title. You have six in 15 years NFL titles. You had a Bruins championship.
Ah, what have you done for me lately?
It's tough, but you won an NBA championship
The
last
thing
year.
with the Patriots is like we're so far away. It's not even like it's an off season away. It's they don't have a coach. They don't have a line. Their defense was supposed to be good. Their defense is like 29th in the league right now. They
Yeah,
suck.
yeah.
Like they don't have anything. We don't know if we got a quarterback or not. We think we do. We got nothing, man. Like this team is it's bad.
Well, as you said, you
It's
can't play him, right? You can't play him just for his own health.
we're paper bag season in New England. It's like Gerard Mayo ain't the guy.
Well, they threw everybody off the stink by beating Cincinnati in week 1. It turns out Cincinnati might not be any good. Mayo might be the guy. It's like
He's
the
not
guy
the
who
guy.
followed Bear Bryant, right? It's like,
He's
how
not
do
the
you
guy.
follow the best coach of
Mayo's
all
not the
time?
guy. Mayo's not. You can't like the problem with Mayo, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it just pisses me off. But like he's the opposite of Belichick, which not in a good way. Like it almost makes Belichick look better. And I'm not talking from a record or football standpoint, from how he handles the media. Like Mayo can't get out of his own way with what he says in front of the media. He'll go out there and say, "Well, yeah, Drake May is a better player. He's a
You
better
can't.
quarterback."
Yeah, you can't do that.
And then he's like, "But Jacoby's better for right now." It's like, dude, just shut up.
Yeah.
Like, don't say these things. I don't know why you're going out there in that media market and acting like you know more than other people. You like just stop talking.
Yeah.
Belichick in arrears looks like he mastered that, and I don't know. It's just like Mayo ain't the guy. He ain't the guy.
Belichick just didn't talk, right? I mean, he said the least
seemed to work
possible
out
thing
for
he
him.
could say, and it worked out great. And he won championships. Well, Mike, you know who's not down? The Midwest. The Midwest is thriving right now. 4 small market teams in the Major League Baseball playoffs, and the NFC North on the up. If you watched, and congratulations to you on nailing that Detroit-Seattle game last night. That was an over by a
Not
million.
a bad week.
That was a good one.
A little bit of a rebound.
A little bit of rebound.
Little bit of a rebound.
We're coming back, baby. But Detroit annihilating an undefeated Seattle team last night. Minnesota and Green Bay surprisingly became a good game after Minnesota jumped way ahead. And even the Bears winning this week, beating Sean McVay and the Rams. The NFC North might be the best division in football, and my Chicago Bears are 500, baby. Caleb looked like a real NFL quarterback this week. I'm up. I'm pumped. And we have the Panthers this week. Dare I say, 3-2 Chicago Bears in contention for a playoff spot.
Wow, must be nice.
I mean, I'm
excited. Don't know what that's like.
And Caleb made a couple throws. Here, I'm not going to break it down too much. He made 2 high level NFL throws, both over the middle.
Congratulations. Your number 1 pick made 2 NFL caliber throws.
I'm talking about the type of throws only the most elite quarterbacks make. He made a bunch of good NFL decisions, no interceptions, ran the ball appropriately, didn't take a bunch of big hits, stayed in the pocket. It was great. It was fun to watch. We don't have to talk about it much, but Midwest on its way up, New England on its way down. We can just let that sit here for a while. Of course, you can have the
on their way. They're there.
Of course, the Yankees
worst team in the
win
league.
The World Series. So, hey, let's go right to our headline this week, and it has to be. Usually, we've been kicking things off with the NFL. Let's go right to the game of the year. Whether you're talking pro football or college football, Saturday night. And it's not really the game of the year; it's probably the half of the year. Georgia and Alabama turned what was a stinker into one of the best finishes we've seen in recent memory.
Roll Tide.
Unbelievable. And, I was pretty smug thinking, and I sent you a smug little text.
Yeah, you were
in that
an
game.
asshole.
You
were a real asshole.
Fair enough. And then Georgia took the lead, and you came back at me not as hot as I went at you. And then Alabama took the lead again, and then we were just laughing. We just nothing but laugh emojis on our text thread at that point, because what else could you do watching the end of that football game? What are your thoughts? I know you're an Alabama fan, aren't you? What are your thoughts walking away from Saturday night's game?
I like Alabama. I'm a weird.
You are weird.
Oh God, I'm gonna get crucified for this.
Do it.
I appreciate Alabama. I also appreciate Tennessee. I'm a northern guy. We don't do college sports up there. We're pro sports people. So when I moved south, I picked Alabama because of the connections to New England, and now I live in Tennessee. I got a lot of friends that like Tennessee, so I want to see them win as well. So I don't have like a big allegiance, all right? All I know is I hate Ohio State.
You're just a fan of football, though. I mean, and if you're a fan of football, that was a fun game.
It was a great game.
Well, let's start here. What was the difference in that game? What made Alabama just that much better than Georgia, other than a home field advantage that seemed pretty significant?
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I never in a million years thought that a Kirby Smart team would get dog walked like that out of the gate, let alone from a coach who's really, it's his first. That was weird. From the one playoff game that Kalen DeBoer's been part of, or I guess the national championship game. That's a huge stage. The stage doesn't get any bigger than that, right?
And there can be an argument that DeBoer was not great in play calling and clock management in the second half. There was some.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. Is I think you said like Saban doesn't let this happen.
Right, and I said you that in a text. I said this game is over at halftime.
Like that was the discipline thing we've talked about in the past. Of Saban is out there when they're up 60-0, chewing asses. And this was a different Alabama team. They're celebrating, letting it rip. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden, Georgia's just tick, 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 which is why it was so ironic that when Georgia took the lead, these sideline cams show them losing their minds, like relatively uncharacteristic of them as well. Kirby Smart runs a tight ship. And then before they can even finish celebrating, boom, Bama's back on top.
Yeah. And
And
Georgia,
that move that cat made, was it Williams, that
yeah.
receiver?
Yeah, man, the 17-year-old Ryan Williams.
The most underappreciated move. That move is not getting enough press. That little juke that he made to go full speed and then a little shimmy step, and those two guys just bloop, fall right into each other, and he just bloop, takes off. I rewound that move 50 million times. I kept telling my wife, watch this, and she's like, why are you asking me to watch this? I don't understand it. I'm like, that's an incredible move. Nobody is talking about this little shimmy step that he makes.
It was like ballet, dude. It was like ballet. You know the first thing I thought of when I saw the replay of that? I thought of the Michael Jordan slow motion, kind of switching hands under the goal, that iconic move that is just, it's so artistic and athletic at the same time. And that's what it looked like Ryan Williams did. And it was, you know, that easily could have been a play that was stopped 20 yards short of the goal line by any other athlete in America. And he like took two Georgia defenders right out of their jocks.
Made them look silly.
Oh, man. It was a special play. And it's really something because that came on the heels, you know, of Carson Beck throwing a 67-yard touchdown, one-play touchdown to Dylan Bell, which it looked like, well, that's it. Georgia has now completed this thing. And Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams said, hold my beer. And the play of the year, and I don't think we're not going to see a better play in college football this year in a high-leverage situation like that. I just don't know how it's going to happen.
Such a good move.
It was a great move.
Such a good move. No one's talking about
it. Because Georgia, you know, here's the thing. Here's what the game is. In the first half, Georgia had six, let's see here. They had 6 possessions. They had 2 interceptions, 2 3-and-outs, 1 touchdown, and a safety against them. You know, and for a team that is really well coached usually, to have 2 3-and-outs, I mean, they could not run the ball. And obviously you're down 28-7.5. You're kind of done running the ball. I think Carson Beck threw it 50 times. But the idea that Georgia couldn't do what they wanted to do early and Alabama took them out of the game and scored quickly, it felt like I turned it off, man. This is embarrassing. I'm a Big Ten guy. I turned on Penn State and Illinois, and then it was jarring. It was jarring going back to watching Georgia and Alabama after watching Big Ten football. It felt like watching Pop Warner, and then, you know.
The little tens, not...
Yeah, Penn State and Illinois played hard. Those are not good football teams. The
Little
SEC
10, medium 12.
I don't want to knock the Big Ten. I love the Big Ten. My daughter's I'd pay thousands of dollars a year to Big Ten school for my daughter to go to school. I don't want to knock it, but
I'll knock it.
Football-wise, the SEC is fantastic.
It's elite.
Does it matter though? With a, you know, if this was just a 4-team playoff year like we've always had,
I think it matters.
Does it matter?
Yeah, because I think Georgia may be in. I don't want to overreact. Georgia may be in trouble.
Well, I felt like they were in trouble until Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. You know, Kentucky ends up winning.
Now they're going to go play Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the SEC is a grinder, dude. It is a grinder. You are putting yourself through it every week. That's the other thing about that league.
Do I still think Georgia's one of the top, 12 best teams in the country?
100%.
Absolutely. But
they're not going
to win the national championship.
We're going to have a chance later in the podcast. I'm going to give you my list of teams I think will make the playoff for college this year, and I want you to dissect it a little bit. So that's coming up.
I'm on the record, though. Georgia not winning the national championship.
But I mean, a potential playoff team, right?
Absolutely, potential playoff team, but not winning the national championship.
Okay, let's hold that discussion because I do want to hear who you think at this point in the season is the championship favorite. Because I think, to your point a few weeks ago, now that we are 5 weeks into the college season and 4 weeks into the NFL season, we can start to do the fun work of speculating. And those of you who like to make your futures bets, this might be the time to do it on who we might see win.
Hey, let me ask you this, Josh.
Yeah.
How much do you think Nick Saban helped game plan for that game?
0.
What?
I don't think he did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's one of the stupidest
0%.
things you've ever said. You say so many stupid things. That's one of the stupidest things you've said.
That is not here. Look, play it this way. Saban is thinking,
still has an office in the stadium.
What helps his legacy better than watching them lose to Georgia the year he leaves? I think it's a little like Belichick, to see New England kind of flounder a little bit.
That the entire universe knows that Saban is still heavily involved in that. You really don't think that Saban had anything to do with that game plan the other day?
No, you're right. I don't think it is as much as maybe you might let on. I don't think it's fair for Saban to be sitting there.
He was literally sitting up there with like a clipboard, and that wasn't for analysis. That wasn't for his ESPN game day follow-up.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to speculate on how much guys like Saban or Belichick are influencing the
Well,
leagues in which
Belichick's
they
not
no longer
influencing
coach.
anything. Belichick, I'll tell you this. Belichick's
Well, you did. You told me he
Navy.
was influencing the Rutgers-Washington game
That was
last
his
Friday.
son. That was his son.
Oh, but no one knows Bill Belichick, man. No one knows Rutgers like Bill Belichick.
I said I said no one knows Rutgers like Bill and Steve Belichick. The Belichick family knows Rutgers. Steve Belichick is the defensive coordinator for Washington, and they held him. It's not Steve Belichick's fault the offense can't score. And I'll tell you what, Bill Belichick is helping out Navy. It's no coincidence that Navy all of a sudden is 4-0, heading to go out west to play Air Force. We'll talk about that game later.
So you're contending that Nick Saban's still coaching Alabama? I mean, what's his role to you?
Nick Saban is heavily advising Kalen DeBoer on the game plan to beat Kirby Smart. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, he did a good job of it until he didn't, right? Until DeBoer had to make
because
decisions
that's what he can't control.
In the moment,
Nick Saban cannot be on the sideline telling him what to do. Can't control the culture on the day-to-day.
It was a fantastic game. I think it matters very little about the playoff in terms of who makes it. It probably matters a little bit more. I don't think Georgia's going to have a chance now to play in the SEC championship game, and you have to win that game in order to earn your bye in the playoffs. So, and I think that bye is really, really important. I think the college football bye is important, more important than any bye in sports. And so this probably removes Georgia from that equation.
More important than any bye. Right.
Yeah, it is. It's the most important bye. So, unless you're an MLB team, those buys are ridiculous as well.
Oh my! What do you think Georgia's concerned about your Northern Illinois Husky game?
No, they're out. I got a new favorite slip into that spot. Okay.
Yeah, Army.
I got to ask you this, man. By the way, I want to say one last thing. I think Jalen Milroe is my favorite Alabama quarterback of my lifetime. And they've had, Mac Jones and Tua and Bryce. I mean, Jalen Milroe is so much fun to watch him lead. And he's found his muse in Ryan Williams, man. I think those guys single-handedly make Alabama, if not a favorite for the national championship, they put them right up there. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I love Milroe. I think he's fantastic. You going to disagree?
Strong quarterback culture.
Okay. Let's wait for you to yell at me about that one too. Tell me how dumb I am that I actually think.
No, he's a good, I think you're very heavily informed by statistics. I'm heavily informed by my eye.
Remember, I'm informed by my eye too, man. I'm watching him on the sideline.
I played competitive football at a high level, and I played quarterback.
I know you did. I mean, JV. You made it all the way to JV. Milroe on the sideline, when Alabama sealed that victory, when Beck threw the interception to the other young freshman, Xavier Brown, Milroe's expression on the sideline, that dude wanted to win that game so bad, and I was so happy for him. And I'm not an Alabama fan. My good friend and friend of the pod, John Pierce, is, and so I was happy for him. But it was fun watching him, a great player, get his just rewards.
Yeah. It was fun watching the quarterback of the team want to win a game. I agree.
You had a tough night with your kid, man. I'm forgiving all this snark. It was a Maverick put you through it tonight.
It was great to watch the quarterback of the team that won the game.
You can tell
excited
a lot
that they won the game.
Look, I watched the Bears and the Colts.
How many winning quarterbacks are frustrated that they won?
I watched the Bears and the Colts last week and watched Anthony Richardson basically sit on the sideline without a care in the world whether they're winning or losing that game. So I know what it looks like when a quarterback is apathetic. I'm a Wisconsin Badger fan. Let me tell you about apathetic quarterbacks. It is like that is literally the position title there, apathetic quarterback. Come to Wisconsin, be our apathetic quarterback. Speaking of,
sounds like a Luke Fickell problem.
It is a Luke Fickell problem, and it's more a Phil Longo problem too. Aerate my ass. We have a reverse jinx, E9 reverse jinx that I think we actually have to be accountable to. We have done this on the E9 podcast, and now from Beyond the Drop. We turned around the fortunes of the Buccaneers and the Saints in week 3. I'm afraid we owe Coach Prime an apology, dude. Colorado has won 3 in a row. They beat Baylor. They beat Central Florida this week. We threw Prime under the bus, Shador under the bus. We didn't throw Hunter under the bus. That dude's fantastic. But the fact is, this is a team in a weak league that is undefeated, and their schedule is not very strong. That Kansas State after a bye week. Then if they can win that game, it's not unrealistic to think they couldn't be in the Big 12 championship game. Think about that for a second. We had them dead and buried after Nebraska beat them. Do we owe Coach Prime an apology?
No.
You sure?
No, this team sucks. The medium 12 is terrible.
It's a bad league, and the ACC is a bad league. We've learned both of these things.
And they've played terrible teams so far.
Well, I mean, is Nebraska too?
I'll give him credit where credit's due. The trenches have improved on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. This team is not a good team. I would love to see them go into any of the. I mean, they're going to get throttled by everyone but really Florida and Vanderbilt in the SEC. They're going to get throttled by half of the Little Ten. And I don't think they beat very many other teams.
Well, we may not, have it get to see much of it because they're only going to play a couple good teams the rest of the way. So it's going to be hard to tell. Like,
they're not going to get in the playoff.
Well, I don't think so either. But I think there is, weirdly enough, in a weird way in that league, they beat Baylor now. There's a path forward for them. They have 2 wins inside the league, and they have a path forward to it.
Baylor stinks.
I don't say you're wrong. I do think they have 2 of the 10 best players in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders in college football. And I think that might be enough in that league, honestly, offensively. They're playing efficient, good football. Sanders is 620 yards the last 2 weeks and 5 touchdowns and an interception, and Hunter's just Hunter stuff. I mean, he's got 220 yards receiving. He's got an interception.
Him a lot. He's doing things the right way. I don't like Shedeur at all. Shedeur's going to be a bust in the league. Coach Prime's an agent. He's not a coach. He's the Don King of college football with no toes.
Hey man, he's going to coach over keeping his toes.
So yeah, I don't know Coach Prime an apology. He's not going to be there next year. He's going to be at Florida.
You think so?
Yeah. Coach Prime, when his kid leaves, he's gone.
Okay, here's what they have left. They have KSU in 2 weeks at home.
Loss.
That's a big game. At Arizona.
Loss.
Man, really? Arizona's not very good.
Loss.
Home for Cincinnati. At Texas Tech. Home for a Utah team that just lost this weekend.
Loss. Cam Rising's gonna smoke them if he's not injured.
They finish at Kansas and then Oklahoma State at home. It's not an easy schedule, but
yeah, they may not win another game.
It's not. I don't know. And Arizona just beat Utah. I don't know.
And then if that league, he may not play Shedeur. If they start losing, he may protect Shedeur for the draft.
Really? That you might be. That will. Tell you what, that will prove your hypothesis. If he is truly an agent on the sideline and they have no chance of making the playoff or winning the conference, and Shedeur all of a sudden has a quote-unquote injury that's going to hold him out for a few weeks,
absolutely.
Then we'll know.
You think Shedeur is going to start the Papa John's Bowl? Absolutely not.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying he may regular season games if they lose 3 or 4 here.
No, I agree. He's not.
Because his draft stock is pretty high right now. Honestly, he may be one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
Is as high as his dad will negotiate his landing spot. He's going to do an Eli Manning.
Do a LeBron James.
What?
LeBron bringing in Bronny. Same thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Very similar.
Bronny wasn't good.
He's not good. He's not good at all.
Shedeur's okay. Shedeur's a good backup.
Last college football question. Not a great docket this week, by the way. I know you have some picks coming for us, but only, I think, one top 25 game. It's like Texas A&M.
I think it's a good docket if you support the military.
Okay. You're right. Fair enough. And then we'll talk about that.
But we know you have issues with the troops.
I love the troops.
If you listen
Don't
to
you
the
do
E9
that.
Pod.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
If
I
you listen
love
to the
the
E9
troops.
Pod.
Stop it. That is absolutely untrue. I support the troops. I support you. God bless America. And God bless Arch Manning. Is there a quarterback controversy in Texas? My last question for you.
No.
When
Quinn's better, he should be the starter.
I mean, you can't lose your job to an injury when you're one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country.
Manning didn't play great this weekend.
No, he threw a couple really nice balls, and he moves well for a Manning. That dude can run. I watched some of that game. He's got legs. Eli could run a little bit too.
He's the son of the athletic Manning that got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Like the Manning that they always that in all the interviews and documentaries, like, oh, if this dude didn't have
he's been the Manning.
Yeah. I think he had like a weird back or something, and they're like, oh, he was the most athletic of the entire family, but he had weird back syndrome.
Yeah. Well, yours will be back in 2 weeks. Got a bye week, and then they have Oklahoma. Obviously that's always a big game.
Horns down.
We'll learn a lot about both those teams at that point, although Oklahoma a little bit down this year. Let's pivot, man. Let's talk a little bit of the NFL before we make some predictions about Major League Baseball. Let's start here. what's the game of the week for you this week? I mean, what was the game that you're watching 6, 8 games at once? Is recycling through multi-view. Is there a game that caught your eye?
Uh,
It's funny. I don't think there were any great games this week, but there
no.
were some very interesting outcomes.
What were the games you were watching? I
So
saw your setup. I saw your setup.
I had a setup. I had President's Cup going over here.
No, I saw it. While people were, recovering from the hurricane, you had 15 games going on, pulling electricity from every other generator in the damn county.
Wow, you're on it. I am suffering from Maverick's misbehavior. I had just gotten my power back, literally like 5 hours
you took it
before.
You made up for it.
And I was gonna get my power in, and that was my one day. I've been watching golf and college football on my phone for 3 days.
In your car.
In my car, sitting in my car, sweltering hot. Poor me. No, and we talked about this in E9 last night. Actually, prayers to everybody, especially those in Tennessee and North Carolina, dealing with those massive floods. And we were down cleaning up on the shore this week for the Indian Rocks Beach, and the devastation there was awful. So,
well, I was excited about. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Your hero plug. Thank you for your service, Josh.
Thank you.
I was excited about the Ravens-Bills game. That didn't play out.
So I was going to ask you about that. Let's start there. I thought that was going to be the game of the week, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, the Bills were due for a little bit of a letdown. They're not the type of team that's going to go undefeated. I mean, they might be a 10 or 11 win team in a crummy division, it turns out. But the fact that Baltimore looked once again like maybe the best team in the AFC was surprising. They handled it on both sides. I mean, they throttled them, and it was at home. It was a game that Baltimore probably needed more than Buffalo. I definitely had that game on. My TV had the Packers Vikings on. It had the freaking Bengals just because of you. I had the Bengals. Game
let's
on.
Let's not just glaze over the Bengals. You mean the mortgage bet that I said? There's no way the Bengals don't cover this game, and they 10-point.
It looked like Dalton was going to have a moment in the first half, and then it was like, oh, they suck. I forget. They got receivers dropping
have
footballs.
A come back to earth moment.
Yeah, I wonder if Bryce is the problem.
The Bengals were not going 0-4. We knew that.
No, you're right.
And we're going to come back to another team that's not going to go 0-5. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear that one too. But yeah, Baltimore looked like, if not the best team in the AFC, I think that's still Buffalo. They looked like they were throwing their hat in the ring finally. How good are they?
Talked about. They're Baltimore's, steady as they go.
Well, it looked like a John Harbaugh team this week.
Absolutely.
Hard-nosed defense.
How dumb are the Titans?
Boy.
Oh,
they could have had them.
Well, just Derrick Henry, a little too expensive. A lot of miles on the tread. Just kick him out of the.
The Cowboys and the Titans are looking in the mirror going, what in the hell are we doing? And Henry looked as good as he's looked in years.
Just stupid. Just so dumb. Like Brand Carthy, what an idiot. Look, the Titans may be the dumbest franchise in the NFL. Like, the decisions they've made, the people and the personnel they've chose to go with over other personnel is incredible.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. It was either last week or the week before. We won't get too far into it again. But between the players and the coaches that they've opted to go with and the players and the coaches they've let go.
It's bizarre.
Wow.
Well,
and I'm not putting any stock in the win they had last night. Like that Titans team sucks. Their best player is Nick Folk. Much like the Patriots' best player is Joey Sly.
They did go on the road and beat Miami. I'm not saying Miami's any good, but I mean, you win on the road in the NFL.
You win on the road against a Miami team that has Tyler Huntley starting off the practice squad, who I actually, believe it or not, I thought Miami was going to win that game.
Hey, did you know he made the Pro Bowl 4 years ago?
Yeah, he's not a bad quarterback.
He made the Pro Bowl. That's bizarre. Lamar got hurt.
The Mike McDaniel, he's not a head coach. And that's not on our pre-production talk track tonight.
It is not.
But I just want to throw that out there. Mike McDaniel, that's dumb.
I mean, it's hard to tell when he doesn't have his team. I mean...
Oh, doesn't. Oh, no. I'll tell you right now. Mike McDaniel is not an NFL head coach. That whole shtick is up. So you can write him off as an NFL head coach.
I think this might be one of his years.
He can be an offensive coordinator.
It's a Miami year where they have bad injury luck. And
I don't care. He could have the best roster in the NFL, and he He is not an NFL head coach.
Well, last night did not look good for him. I agree with you. Interesting results this week. Andy Dalton had a moment last week, Carolina winning a game. And then this week, guess who comes in to replace Anthony Richardson and leads the Indianapolis Colts to victory over the previously undefeated Steelers?
Was that Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco did.
Again.
And he looked good.
I have an admission. I didn't know Joe Flacco had signed to be a backup. Like I thought he had exited the league and would have done what he did last year, come in, but like I don't know why he would have went through training camp, all that stuff. I had no clue he was still in the league.
He keeps showing up, and then he's good. Like he was good. He threw a couple good deep balls, does his thing. He just gets the ball out of his hand very quickly. He's got a good offensive line, makes good decisions, and with a line like that and a running game like the Colts have, I mean, they handled the Steelers. It was not a close game. It ended up being 27-24.
Is he going to start this weekend?
I think he will. I think Richardson might be out a little bit extended time, but it turned out that may have been the best game of the week. If you think about meaningful games, the Commanders had a big win. If you think about meaningful injuries, Kansas City snuck one out again, just another garbage performance, but losing Rashee Rice.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. The Chiefs are fine. They're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know. Anyone's concerned about the Chiefs, it's overblown. They're going to win the Super Bowl. They're great. They're fine.
Dude, they are losing guys left and right.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just think they're due for a bad run of injury luck. Every team has it happen. It's going to happen to everybody. They have not. They've been.
And they'll go fine. We were texting about it earlier.
Yeah. Who do you think they get? They have to get somebody, right?
Well, the Titans are stupid if they hold on to.
Hopkins will end up, or Devontae Adams will end up there, right? They're not. Devontae Adams isn't going to a division rival.
The Raiders are screwed. They can't. They're not a contender. Devontae Adams knows he has no desire to be there. None. They have to do a rebuild. The coach sucks. If you want an interesting read, Google what Antonio Pierce's financial situation is. He's bankrupt, literally. He made a ton of bad investments that he's having to pay out on. They're garnishing his wages right now from the Raiders. It's wild. The Raiders are going to Raider. Devontae Adams is going to say, I want out. So I think he ends up somewhere. You're right. It's a divisional trade, but sure, why not? The Titans are in a very tough spot. They need to trade Hopkins because they're not a contender this year. They're not a contender next year, but they got to sell tickets to this new stadium. They have to.
Yeah, right.
Right? And he's a big part of that.
Yeah.
So they got to figure out what are we going to do because we got to put asses in seats for this new stadium, and they're not going to be cheap seats. They still haven't released the prices for those tickets. I'm on the wait list just for the hell of it.
Right.
They haven't told me how much they're going to cost because they got to get the team to be good so they can raise the prices, but they don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. They got to keep Hopkins around, they would think, right? For interest purposes. They got Calvin Ridley.
Does he still draw eyes, though? Does he still matter? Like
he's good. He's still good. Like you're trying to put an offense. You're trying to put a star-studded offenses out on the field, right? And he's still very capable.
I mean, their best player yesterday was Pollard. Looked great, and
he does. But like the team still sucks, and it's like you're 2 years away from opening up this massive stadium, and you still don't know. Your fans still don't know how much it's going to cost to buy season ticket and PSLs.
Well, it's not Will Levis, so it's got to be somebody else. He's not going to.
Mason Rudolph looked terrible too. So
yeah, he's no good. We know that.
I don't know what you do if you're the Titans.
So, but
do
you think they trade Ridley or Hopkins to the Chiefs?
Not Ridley. No one's taking that contract right now. But I think Hopkins is if you're the Titans, you're in a conundrum because it's like, do you trade the guy? I think you have to. And I think the Chiefs are like, yeah, we'll take him. Obviously, the Chiefs will find a way. The Chiefs will endure.
Are they going to miss Valdez-Scantling? How funny is that? There's no chance they miss that guy. Man, we wish I had Valdez-Scantling back, who dropped 47 passes.
If I'm the Patriots, I'm like, hey, do you want Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, Kendrick Bourne's getting healthy. You want him? Like, if I'm the Patriots, I'm like, who do you want? Like, we got anyone you want. Here's let me say this about just the NFL in general, and we'll get into like the pretenders, and it comes down to this: if you do not have an offensive line today, you aren't going anywhere because there is a severe scarcity of quality offensive linemen. Who's trading a capable offensive lineman right now?
Well, nobody. A capable one? Nobody.
And if you need
that's
one,
not news,
and if you need one, how are you going to go get one? You can't. right? You can't go get a good offensive lineman right now if you were in desperate need of a tackle, left or right. Who are you going to go get?
Yeah, you got to comb
There's
a
no
waiver
one.
wire or find someone on a practice
There's no
squad
waiver. No,
somewhere.
no, no. There's no waiver wire. There's no practice. Josh, they don't exist, man. Like if you need a starting caliber tackle, who is available? Nobody. That's where you have to look at that's where I'm looking at the field right now, and I'm saying, where is the offensive line great or good right now, and where is there a little bit of depth available right now as it stands? Because if you need a tackle, they're not there. I'm living it as a New England Patriots fan. We have went through every practice squad in the NFL. We've run through every free agent in the NFL, and we still have a revolving door, a turnstile on the left and the right side of the offensive line. They don't exist, man. So if you're looking to find out who are the best bets to win a Super Bowl, it's the teams that have established tackles and offensive line play. That's it. Because of the trade deadline, there's none out there, man.
Well,
Even if you're a terrible team, if you are the worst team in the league and you have a good offensive line, a decent offensive line, you're not trading those guys because that's what you build around.
Well, I want you to hold on to that thought because we're going to go through the list of playoff teams that we project for the NFL. And I think most of them are offensive line teams. And I'm going to surprise you with one that you've written off that is probably going to make the playoffs, and largely because they have an offensive line, even if their coach is incompetent. So hold on to that thought. I want to very quickly address Pete Rose and his passing. You're probably a little too young to remember Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle.
I know Pete Rose.
Certainly you know who he is.
I met him in Vegas.
Shocking. Pete Rose in Vegas? Who would have thought? He was probably selling autographs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I met him on an elevator.
Yeah.
On his way to go sign autographs.
Yeah. Pete Rose, obviously the greatest, if not the greatest hitter of all time, maybe the greatest driver of the baseball of all time. In my lifetime, him and Kirby Puckett are so far ahead of anybody else who could actually just hit baseballs and drive them for singles and doubles where they wanted to on the field. I grew up watching Pete Rose. He won 2 World Series. He is an all-time hit leader, 4,000. Oh, God, I'm going to bunt this so bad. 500, 362. I'm shooting from the hip here on this one. But he's so far ahead, no one will ever catch him, especially the way we play baseball now. Too many walks being drawn. Career is not that long. He played more games than anybody else. So it is a record that will most likely stand forever. And the problem is, Mike, some stat nerd like I was for baseball, and I was a huge stat geek for baseball when I was a little kid, is going to ask Google one day, who is the all-time hits leader? And they're going to be blown away by a guy named Pete Rose, who has probably got more out of his unathletic frame than anybody in the history of being unathletic, other than maybe you and your member guest championship a week ago. And
wow,
they're going to see that Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Quarterback.
JB quarterback, baby. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. And it's really bothersome that he died not being enshrined for mistakes that he made after he was done playing the game. And I know he was a manager and bet on his team, and I know you can't do it. It is shocking, though, that we have racists and we have guys who may or may not have been in the Black Sox scandal and all kinds of unsavory dudes in the Hall of Fame. And Pete Rose, his stuff is there, cleats and bats and stuff, but he's not there. He doesn't have his bust in the Hall of Fame. It seems a little bit disingenuous by Major League Baseball to honor him today, but not honor him as a Hall of Fame member. Where do you stand on that?
Terrible timing, right? Like he is passing away in a time where it is near impossible to put someone to the Hall of Fame with a gambling rap sheet based on the fact that how prevalent gambling and legal gambling is now.
Well, that's the thing. It's everywhere now.
It is, but now you're seeing some of the harshest penalties for players that gamble. So what message does that send if it's like, man, like we're going to let a guy in that bet on his own team in the era of full
where's illegal
embrace of legalized sports gambling, but also the harshest gambling penalties for players. Like it's just bad timing.
But he didn't gamble as a player that we know of. I mean,
But I would argue that you have more control over what's happening as a coach than you do as a player.
I guess you're right. I don't disagree with you, but he's going in
But
He'd be going in as a player, not
Josh,
as a
help me,
manager.
and I want to be very clear. Did he, as a manager, did he bet against
No,
his team?
he bet for his team, and his teams were not very good. He was not a great manager, and he lost a bundle betting for his team. But the problem is,
See, that's a weird.
here's the Pete Rose
That's a
problem is
weird
this.
one, right?
It's very strange. The problem is with Major League Baseball is he denied it for 10 years, even though the evidence was so incriminating, before he finally came out on national TV and admitted it on his own terms. He shot
That's like
himself
the
in the
steroid
foot.
guys. That's like Rafael Palmeiro sitting in front of Congress and pointing at me like, I did
Yeah,
not use
it's
performance enhancing drugs. It's like, shut up. Like, that's perjury.
but I feel more legitimate about keeping Palmeiro or Canseco or McGuire or Sosa or even Bonds out of the Hall of Fame because what they did impacted their performance. Whereas Rose, what he did had nothing to do with his performance. I think there's a lot of people want to lump them together, and I just don't think it's fair to Pete Rose to do that. I understand the argument for keeping him out of the Hall of Fame.
I think it's bad timing. If gambling was not as prevalent today, I think there would have been this. What is it? Posthumous? What's
Yeah,
the word
posthumous.
here?
That's a good word. Good
Posthumous.
job by you.
Thank you. The posthumous admission into the Hall of
You're
Fame.
better the first time.
What?
But you go ahead.
What did I mess up?
Well, you changed posthumous to posthumous.
Posthumous.
Whatever. He's dead. I get your point.
Post-death admission to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, post-death admission to the Hall of Fame would have been probably more palpable had gambling not been legal and as prevalent as it is today.
Fair
But now
enough.
it's tough. Like that's a double standard. It's like, oh, this guy
Yeah.
bet everywhere, but
Well, he's
we're
not
gonna
going.
let him in.
I don't think he's ever
He
going
ain't going in.
He ain't
No.
ever going in. Let's
But
turn.
he's famous enough that he'll always be in the conversation.
I hope so
That's
because he was.
that's like the guys that are the steroid era that aren't in. It's like you're always going to talk about them.
Sure. I was never a fan of Pete Rose, but man, I respect the hell of a guy who played the game as hard as he did and grinded like he did.
You think those steroid guys should be in?
No, I absolutely do not. I think
Mm.
their infractions impacted the way they played the game. And not only that, but it impacted pitchers who were otherwise probably more deserving of better numbers in that era. So I think it was.
Oh, I think that era needs their own little wing
It
because
does.
it was the most entertaining.
100%. I agree.
It was awesome.
I was there.
The pitchers were on the juice. The hitters were on the juice. It was awesome.
I was at Milwaukee County Stadium the night that McGuire tied the record, hit 2 home runs, and it was electric. I mean, home fans cheering for a visiting player to hit piss missiles out of. I don't think it was still. I think it was Miller Park at that time, but man, it was fun to watch.
I don't mean to ruin what I know is on the agenda for later, but I think this is a good time to tease it. I'm a big proponent of professional athletes using performance enhancing drugs for entertainment.
Of course you are.
And next week we're going to do a review of the Vince McMahon documentary
Yes,
on
we
Netflix, the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that if these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars and if they want to juice themselves up to entertain me, have at it.
Go for it. I don't disagree with you, dude.
Absolutely.
You and I will see eye to eye on this.
And if you told me we're going to pay you, Mike, $100 million and in exchange you got to go take the needle in the bathroom, I would be like,
sign me up.
where do I bend over?
You've put the needle in your bottom for a lot less than that. I guarantee it.
Listen,
we are gonna start reviewing Mr. McMahon, the 6-part series from Netflix, and it's awesome. I watched the first 2 episodes. I can't wait to talk about it. I was a kid who, I was a latchkey kid. I had a television as my best friend, and the WWF, now the WWE, was one of my parents growing up, and that says a lot about what happened to the furniture in my house and whatever else. So we are going to talk about that next week. So we can tease it out now, but we can't wait to, almost like we did Full Swing for E9, we're going to talk about Mr. McMahon next week. So I think wrestling impacted both of our lives pretty greatly. Very quickly, Mike, I'm very upset, and I'm going to do my rant. I'm going to make it very quick. Today, the Major League Baseball playoffs started. If I were to have one dream before I died, one athletic thing that I could have happen for me before I died, it would be seeing the Milwaukee Brewers win a World Series. That's it. That's what I want. I want to see my hometown baseball team that I grew up going to games when I was 5 years old and sitting in the outfield at County Stadium and watching Bernie Brewer slide down the slide into his mug. Growing up watching Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, Raleigh Fingers. I want to see him win the World Series. They had the 3rd highest differential run-wise in baseball this year. They had 93 wins. They won the division by 10 games, the largest division victory of any team. But because Philadelphia and Los Angeles had better records, the Brewers now have to play a 3-game series against the Mets, who just had to play their way into the playoffs yesterday.
Yeah,
and
what's wrong with that? That should be something you want. The Mets stink.
And they beat the Brewers 8-4 today. My problem with this is last year the Brewers, in the same situation, played the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks won 2 of 3 games and ended up going to the World Series. It is patently unfair to play 162 games, have a team win their division by 10, and then say, guess what? 3-game series for you to get to the next round. Because in baseball, 3 games is a minute segment of evaluation for how good a team is. Anybody can take 2 of 3 against anybody in Major League Baseball. If you said it was 5 games, okay, I can see 5 games. The Brewers probably will come back and win. Or 7 games, they're absolutely going to beat the Mets. But in a 3-game series with the Mets winning the first game, the Brewers have almost an impossible task of winning one of the next 2, the way the baseball players are set up. And it's not fair for a team like Milwaukee Brewers to have to A, play a team that has a payroll $150 million higher, and B, only gets 3 games to advance in the playoffs while the Phillies and the Dodgers sit there with their huge payrolls and their thumbs up their butts waiting for one of these chumps to wander into their stadium here next week. So I'm ticked off, but I want to shout out Milwaukee, Detroit, KC, Cleveland, who actually, did get the bye. Detroit went into Baltimore. No, KC went into Baltimore and won today. Detroit won today against Houston. So it's fun to see these guys actually winning from behind. But it certainly seems unfair that, man, you win your division and you get a best of 3 series. Thanks for coming. You have an opinion?
Right.
I said it all. All right, that's my rant. Let me turn it to you.
Win your games, win it when it matters. I don't know what else. What's the solution?
I think the solution is they play a 5-game series, or you give buys to all 3 division winners and you figure it out, or you take one less team in the playoffs. It's stupid to have this many teams in the playoff in the first place.
What was stupid was having the 1-game play-in. That was
dumb too. Agreed. That said, it's all going to come down to big money winning the World Series. Who do you have winning this year? Who do you think is going to make the World Series? Who do you think wins the World Series? And we can move on to the next topic.
I like the Dodgers, but I also like the Phillies. So it's tough.
Really?
I think the Phillies end up. Yeah, I think the Phillies. It's going to come down to health, which is always the case here, right? And it's going to come down to pitching. I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary here. I like the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers getting over the hump of last year is big. I think the Dodgers are going to end up winning the World Series. I think the Yankees are going to trip all over themselves. I think at the end of the day, Houston's going to come back and beat Detroit here. They're going to win 2 straight. They're going to advance. I like at the end of the day, I like the Dodgers over the Phillies in the NL. And I like Houston over the Yankees in the AL. And I guess kind of get boring. This how many years this has happened now, but I like the Dodgers over Houston in the World Series.
It's boring as hell, and I think
it is boring.
The only difference I have is I have the Dodgers, Yankees, and I think the Dodgers win as well. I think it's their time. They're just kind of.
It's either the Dodgers or the Phillies.
But it's going to be.
I like the Phillies.
It's going to be teams that have these massive payrolls. The funny thing is, the story is these small market Midwest teams kind of turntabling the Major League Baseball season. You got the Guardians winning their division and getting a bye. Cleveland. Important it is to them. Kansas City, Detroit, and Milwaukee, and it's just going to be the same 2 big spenders in the World Series, like there always is. But I agree with you.
They have bullpen arms, right? That's what it comes down to, really. Is it's the starting pitching to get through these early. Today, you look at Detroit, KC. They started their studs, and those guys had banner years, right? Tomorrow, it's what's your depth look like? And I trust Houston. I trust Baltimore's depth a little more, not as much Baltimore. I trust Houston's depth in this series, right? You start getting into the game 2, game 3. Definitely, I like Houston's depth over I like Detroit's. Same thing in the NL, right? You get into the depth, that's where the money starts to pay off a little bit.
Yeah, agreed, totally. And man, the way managers work today, they use pitchers. I mean, starters don't go much past the 4th inning unless they're really, really dealing. And relievers have to win these games, and they're pitching 5 guys, from the 5th inning on. So it's pretty crazy how important the bullpens have gotten. All right, Mike, running short on time. I'm going to give you a choice here on our featured topic. I would like you to choose whether you want to discuss who we think the 16 playoff teams will be in the NFL, or who you think will be the 12 playoff teams in college football. We can do one this week and one next. Which one of those two do you want to tackle?
Let's do NFL this week.
Okay. You said a few weeks ago, and I agreed with you, that the NFL season, you really can't tell what shape it's going to take until after week 4. So we're at week 4. Everybody has played 4 games.
Bill Belichick agrees with me.
So you and Bill Belichick, basically the same person. We know this.
We're similar.
I don't even think he played JV quarterback when he was younger. So
he didn't.
It's interesting when you look at the numbers. The AFC is just, it's really top heavy. And so here's who I have as AFC playoff teams.
This is your numbers.
This is me. This is me basically looking at divisions, looking at schedules.
Data-driven analysis.
Something like that. I would say a less than expert opinion, but a pretty well-informed opinion. I've seen all these teams play.
Let me bring up the standings.
Please look at the standings. Bring it up.
And then I'm looking at it.
You can see the conundrum in the AFC when we look at the standings.
Not a conundrum. I already know who the playoffs are.
Okay, so let me go by my list. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Buffalo.
Playoffs.
Pittsburgh.
Playoffs.
Baltimore.
Playoffs.
Houston.
Playoffs.
Kansas City.
Playoffs.
Okay, those seem pretty obvious, right? Those 5.
I would say of those 5, Pittsburgh is the borderline one.
And I should say
Pittsburgh's about to they may be 500 at the end of the year.
Okay.
I still think is a fine way to get into the playoffs.
It might be in the AFC. It really might be. And by the way, there's of course 7 teams from each division, not 8. I said 16. I correct myself here. So here are my last 2. And this is where it gets a little bit weird. Dude, I don't want to put the Jets in. I think Salah's a terrible coach. They looked awful. Their division sucks and their schedule's easy. And it just feels like, because they had a last place schedule from last year, it feels like they're going to get the 10 wins no matter what they do. And so I have the Jets in. And I'm going to look you in the eye when I say this. I have the Bengals in because I just don't know who else to put in. The other option other than Bengals is the 2-2 Las Vegas Raiders, who actually do have a decent offensive line. So you tell me, of those 3 teams, Jets, Bengals, and Raiders, for those last 2 spots, who is it? Or is there somebody I'm not seeing? Is Denver sneak up in there? Does the Chargers sneak up in there?
Yeah. No, it's going to be the Bengals, and it's going to be the Chargers, or it's going to be the Broncos.
So you don't see the Jets with a path forward?
No, they suck.
They suck. And Rodgers' body language sucks. His press conference was fascinating. He did take a lot of the blame himself. Selah. Terrible coach.
Terrible. Rodgers is done.
And look at the Jets' schedule. Well,
their offensive line's bad too.
I may have jumped the gun a little there. The Jets' schedule at the back end is really, really easy. But they got Minnesota coming up. That looked like it was an easy game starting the year. Not. Buffalo.
Loss.
Pittsburgh.
Loss.
Then they got your Patriots.
Win.
And they got Houston.
Loss.
And we don't have to. And then they kind of have an easy schedule. But I
just don't think they win. I think.
Yeah, you might be right.
I think Denver. Sean Payton figures that out. Like, they grind out wins. Ugly. I think the Chargers figure it out.
Because they both have better coaches. Because Payton and Harbaugh are better coaches than Saleh.
I think they have better rosters too, to an extent.
Well, I mean, the Jets roster is pretty freaking good, dude.
Yeah, but they can't put it together.
The defense only let 9 points up this week. They just, or 10 points. They just only scored 9. I also
don't like the Jets, so there's a little. I don't see the Jets in the playoffs.
Okay, so we agree on the Bengals.
I think the Bengals storm back.
Okay, it feels like a perfectly Bengals thing to do, doesn't it?
Assuming Joe Burrow is healthy.
Okay, let me ask you about these teams. Do they have any chance, or are they just pretending that they can be playoff contenders? Indianapolis 2-2.
Man, their division's so weak.
It's so bad, dude.
Again, like a 500 team maybe sneaks in. I think they have a chance.
They have a chance. And are we sure? I can't believe I'm going to say this with the. And you're going to say something about this in the picks. We're sure Jacksonville's done, right? 0-4.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
All right. It just seems like they were just everybody's darling, and now We're 4 weeks in and they're done.
They were nobody's darling. They're done.
All right.
They were Shad Khan's darling.
Well, the AFC is simple
They're
compared
London's
to the NFC.
darling.
So bring up your standings and look at the NFC. Yeah, they are London's darling. That's a good point.
I'm looking at them.
This is where it gets really hairy. All right, here's my NFC teams, and I can't say for certain whether
very hairy.
Hairy, man. I can't say for certain whether any of these teams will get in. Right now, I have Minnesota and Detroit. Washington. Washington? Okay, let's go. Minnesota and Detroit in, right?
Yes.
That's 2 from the NFC North. That's crazy, and I don't have the Packers making it. So Washington, who looks good. Jaden Daniels looks really good.
Not committing yet.
Okay, all right. This is why this is tough. Dallas.
They'll make it.
I think they'll make it, right?
They'll make it.
They have one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best receivers, and
they'll make
good
it.
defense.
They have a nice game. They have a nice game coming up this weekend.
Are they playing the Patriots?
No.
Who are they playing?
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, that's a good game. God, what two great logos, man! Playing uniform there is great. Takes me back.
I don't like the Steelers logo.
Now things that is a classic logo, friend.
Yeah, looks like something from the Wizard of Oz.
Now things get really hairy. Tampa Bay winning their division, AFC South.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they crushed Philadelphia this week. Another crappy coach.
Tampa Bay's in, but they're not winning the Super Bowl because Baker Mayfield just wants to have fun.
He just wants to have fun. How about that conversation, right? Tom Brady basically on the air, and this is the best thing Tom Brady has done all year.
That's what you want Tom Brady to do in the booth.
100% right.
That was fantastic. And then Bill Belichick piled on him.
Yes.
Piled on him again.
Finally, Tom Brady said something interesting, which is, I wasn't there to have fun. I was there to win championships. That's all you need to know.
That was Tom Brady. Like, I think it's a little bit of when we started our first E9 pods, is we were trying to do what we thought was, what do we think people want to hear? We weren't necessarily being our complete selves. That was Tom Brady, like, breaking character, being like, no, this is who I am. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, oh, well, I thought, if I want to have fun, I'm going to go to Disneyland with my kids, jackass. You know what's fun for me is winning 6, 7 Super Bowls. That's what's fun.
It was great. I loved it.
Poor Baker had to go, oh, God, why did I do that?
And Baker, man, with his tail between his legs, had to walk it back. He's like Bien An at the President's Cup. Just deleting the tweet and walking it back.
I wanted Baker on the Patriots so bad. I would have been the first guy in line to buy his jersey. And I think that I thought it was a little ridiculous that Brady and Belichick went after him like that. Like, still,
Baker started. He called out the locker room, dude. You can't call it the locker room. Baker Mayfield can make any comment he wants except the locker room under a previous quarterback. That's taboo. I've known NFL quarterbacks.
He did it the week Brady was announcing the game.
That's right. It's just, you can't do it. Okay, so Tampa Bay, you agree with me that they're in?
Absolutely.
Okay, Seattle. Yep. 3-1, and we Seattle.
I'm not ready to put them in there yet. San Francisco wins that division.
So San Francisco's my 7th team. I have San Francisco, who is
What do you mean your 7th team?
They're my 7th team in the playoffs. So I have. Well, I'm not ranked. Hey, Mike, before you laugh at me again, I'm not saying they're the 7th best team. I'm just saying they're my 7th team that I put on my list.
So who do you think wins that division?
Probably San Francisco. I think
probably San Francisco.
Well, I mean, Seattle's gamey, dude, and it's a tough home field to win if you're on the road.
Okay, well, easy home field to tell you right now. San Francisco wins that division.
Okay.
So
do you want to put double or nothing, the $20 you owe me from the Alabama Georgia game?
I do owe you that money, yes. So I would love to go double or nothing on San Francisco.
So we're going to double or nothing that you think San Francisco's going to win the division. I'll take anybody else.
Yeah. No, I will give you the field.
I'm taking the field. Great.
Okay. Absolutely.
All right.
I'm going to tell you right now. I know you have a list. I feel bad for hijacking it, but San Francisco is going to win the West.
Okay.
Tampa Bay is going to win the South.
Okay. We're pretty in agreement here.
Detroit's going to win the North.
Yep.
Okay. Dallas is going to win the East.
Okay. So you think Dallas over Washington? Dallas catches them. Washington's just a flash in the pan.
No, they're not a flash in the pan. Washington.
We've talked about how good Quinn has been doing this year. I mean, that is a well-coached team.
I think Washington makes the playoffs, but those are your division winners.
You're right. Okay. And then who are your wild cards?
They're your 4 teams right there. Okay. And now your wild cards are going to be the Commanders.
Yep.
The Vikings. This last one's squarely in the Packers.
Wow. I can see it. This is where it's
That's
really
it.
hard. But you're saying we got 3 teams from the NFC North making the playoffs. That seems bizarre to me.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to butcher this stat to an extent, but it's directionally correct. The Eagles have lost like 11 of their last 13. Something crazy like that. Like they're not good.
They're not making the playoffs.
Nick Sirianni, not good.
Not
Jalen
good.
Hurts, overrated. It's seriously, if a listener, please look it up, tweet us the real stat, but it's like the Eagles have lost something like either 10 of their last 11 or 12 of their last 13.
Do you know who's carrying their offense right now? Saquon Barkley. Guess what? He's not
Which
carrying
is
your offense for
wild.
17 games. That dude is not carrying you for 17 games.
Right. So the Eagles aren't making the playoffs. The Giants aren't making the playoffs. So cross
Right.
those two off.
Sure.
Boom, boom. Dallas is too talented. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, but they'll make it. And the Commanders are good. Dan Quinn's a good coach. He should have had a job a long time ago. They've got Jaden Daniels balling. So those two teams make it.
So that
The
leaves
Vikings,
Detroit, Green Bay.
the Vikings will slip a little, but not enough to not miss to miss the playoffs. They're a good team. They have a lot of talent. They're well coached. Sam Darnold's a very good quarterback in the right system. He's in the right system, and the Lions are going to make it. Right. So there's 2 teams right there. So you're up to 4. The Packers will endure. They'll figure it out. I don't like LaFleur, but he's a good coach. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. They have a good roster. They're going to make the playoffs. So now you're up to your 5th team. Nobody else out of the South makes it except the Buccaneers.
So no
Buccaneers
chance for
win that.
Atlanta or New Orleans. I mean, there's
I
only
don't think
one
so.
spot out of that division.
I think so. I think the Buccaneers are the better team of that, and I don't think any of those other guys rise above or rise far enough up to contend with a wild card spot,
Yeah.
which is going to be held by, in this case, Minnesota and Washington. If you're looking for a potential chink in the armor, it's probably Washington here. And I think you've got one team that comes out of the West, and that's going to be the 49ers.
Okay. So your wild card teams then would be Minnesota and Green Bay and Washington, and no Seattle. Seattle's the one who's kind of the 3-1 team that's on the outs.
Yeah, I think Seattle's a little fraudulent. New England almost beat them. Like people forget that.
Okay.
I still think I think Geno Smith is fine. I like their offense. Their defense is okay.
Well, they got lit up like a Christmas tree last night, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
San Francisco is the cream of that division.
Yeah. All right. We still have $20 on it. If nothing else, I break even and have big bragging rights if I win this one. Hopefully, remember at the end of the year. It's time,
But
dude.
it doesn't matter if Kansas City's going to win.
It's I can't fathom
And
that.
I hate it.
I'm married to a Kansas City fan. My kids are Kansas City fans. It is. I would turn the camera here. We have 2 pictures here in my office, and one is a team uniforms of the Kansas City Chiefs over the years, and the one below it's the Bears. And whichever team ends the season with the better record gets to go on top.
Well, dude, the worst thing is,
Suffice to say, the Bears have never been on top in that scenario.
It's the worst part is, as a diehard New England and Brady fan, I want to hate these guys, but the more they win, the more I actually like appreciate them. I'm like, I don't hate Mahomes.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing it back to you. And secondly, I totally agree with you. It's hard to hate them. It really is. You like Reed.
I don't like Andy Reid. I listen. He's a terrible father.
Clearly,
Terrible father. Like he's ruined his family. But hell of a good coach.
a good coach and a good team. And Mahomes is, dang it, likable. And
If anyone needs Ozempic, it's Andy Reid.
It's time. It's really the moment I live for. It is time for $1,000 picks. Mike, we are in the black this week. You won 3 of your 5 bets.
Finally.
You won 1 of your mortgage bets.
Oh my God.
And pretty easy wins. What I'm really proud of you is you got the over-unders right. You got the under correct on Washington Rutgers. That came true. You called it. It was your Belichick bet, and it came through. And then you got the over right by a million miles last night on Detroit and Seattle.
We just go on record that I stated the under on the pod and you posted the over.
Yeah, and I corrected it. I put a new post out. It went out, so we got it figured out. But yes, we got a correction out there. And then you also, of course, for your $1 million bet, your mortgage bet, you had the Bengals covering against the Panthers. They did. The ones we lost, Buffalo and UConn.
No, we don't talk about the one.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. And then Georgia didn't cover. We won $20 there.
They did cover for a minute.
So that, excuse me. That made us 149.74 in the positive last week, which is good.
That's right.
Over 10% return, 14% return on our investment, and then $941.53 to the red this year overall. So we're making our way back. We're climbing back.
We're triple digits.
Yeah, we're making triple digits.
We're
going to bring it back this week. Well, let's get started. Let's start with your first bet. Do the mortgage bets last.
Too easy. I got 2 appetizer bets, $100 each,
okay.
right?
Yep.
Nothing really special about these 2. Well, one of them may be a little special. We talked about it earlier, but the one we haven't touched on all year. 2 teams we haven't spoken about, we haven't referenced at all. Just an easy one. Easy $100 bet.
I feel like you're setting us up. You're setting us up here.
It's not setting us up. This is actually a good friend of the pod. Gary, his wife, is a very good friend of the pod. Kaylee. Shout out.
Shout out, Kaylee.
Gary, I don't know, some weird like graduate program from he's not that smart of a guy. Louisville got some degree somehow for their veteran program.
Gary's catching strays, man.
Yeah, it's like a charity program. Like he serves, so they gave him a diploma. I don't know. Never set foot on the campus. But Louisville gave him
Gary,
a diploma.
thank you for listening. I appreciate your support. It's going to be horrible to lose you after this week.
No, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. One of my best friends. But I don't know. He got a diploma somehow from Louisville. Never set foot on the campus.
All
right. Anyways, Louisville, they're playing SMU. SMU's going to take the trip to Louisville. Used to be Papa John's Stadium. Papa John's did something wrong. No longer Papa John's. I forget what it's called now. I love the over here. These 2 teams score. Their defenses aren't necessarily great. 56.5 is the total right now. I think this is going to be just a slugfest. I almost liked Louisville outright against
a slugfest or a shootout. We're taking the over. It can't be a slugfest. We're going shootout if it's an over, right?
Oh my gosh, semantics. Whatever, Josh. Don't act like
good use of semantics.
You can't even post my bets correctly. Don't come in here with the terminology, right?
I got to make sure the people are clear on our.
Well, let me tell the people what's clear. It's going to be a lot of points, all right?
All right.
To be very even more clear, it's going to be over 56.5.
So we're betting with our hearts on this one. Gary has got you convinced. All right.
I looked at the numbers. Both teams score a lot of points. They don't play a lot of defense. 56.5, that's the number. It's going to be over.
So we're not violating the don't bet with our hearts rule.
Don't worry about the rules that I use to make my bets, Josh. Just either bet with me or don't.
I bet with you, and I won this week, so I'm happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right. Over 56.5. Louisville home against SMU. Not a bad call. Yeah. I don't disagree. What do you got next?
Bryson DeChambeau's alma mater.
Ooh, SMU. The Mustang.
No big deal. All right, the next one. This is another team that there's no way they go 0-5. This is an NFL bet. They stink, but they don't stank.
Well, it's pretty easy to figure out who you're talking about because there's only one winless team in the NFL right now. So, go for it.
Jacksonville.
Yep.
Playing the Colts. The Colts are going to go to Jacksonville. I don't think this is a London game. Doesn't matter if it's a London game.
It is not. The Jets are in London this week.
Okay, fine. Don't care about them. Colts go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not losing this game. Jacksonville's 3-point favorite.
Jacksonville's a favorite? That. There's no way Jacksonville's a favorite in this game.
Absolutely, they're a favorite. They're not going to go 5. They have some talent. And
hold on. There's gosh. Look, man. I just want to make sure we got it right. You're telling me an 0-4 team is going on the road against a 2-2 team?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Josh.
I want to make sure.
No, please go ahead. Make sure.
I think
you have such a track record of being accurate in these matters.
Extremely accurate, by the way. I put one wrong thing on an Instagram post,
and
I'll never hear the end of it.
You've actually worded them wrong in the past, but go ahead.
Jesus, that's unbelievable.
What is it, Josh?
Well, it's 2.5 on Hard Rock, but I'll take your 3. They're favorites. Jacksonville -3.
Yeah.
At Indy.
No, it's at Jacksonville.
Is it at Jacksonville? Okay, yeah, okay.
So they're home. That makes sense. Josh, why don't you go fact check that?
Dude, relax. Okay. Relax. I got you.
Okay, we're just fact checking.
Jacksonville at home, -3 over the Colts.
Correct.
All right.
Let the record show. $100.
Now, we did not do very well in the last Jacksonville bet where we took them up to 4.5. So we're going to give up the 3 points. Let me ask you this: Do you think they win the game by a touchdown or more? Do you tease that up? Do you take it up to?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so just the straight 3.
Absolutely.
$100
We're
bet.
not getting cute. We're not getting cute.
All right. We got $200 bets. Those are appetizer bets. What's our third bet?
You're not going to like this bet.
Okay.
You're not.
You're going to take the Panthers, aren't you?
No.
Okay,
This
good.
is a college bet.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go.
But it's two schools who generate graduates that then go on into professions that you don't support.
Is this
is the
Did I
Navy
piss
Air
you off
Force
today?
game.
What did I do to you today?
This is the Navy Air Force game, my man.
I love the Navy. The Air Force is okay too.
This is Navy Air Force, my man. And you know who's consulting the Navy midshipmen?
We already know Bill Belichick is. So we have
Belichick.
our second betting with the heart bet of the night.
This is not. How is it betting with the heart when the greatest football coach of all time, who is on record as saying his favorite football team of all time is Navy because his father coached there and he got his start at coaching as a little kid, watching his dad coach at Navy. Then he coached at Navy and he's always wanted to coach at Navy, but he can't coach because he's announcing. And so now, or he's doing a media member. So now he's just on the side helping Navy win games. They're 4-0. They're going to Air Force. Navy scores points.
They have a unique
the total
offense.
is 34.5.
That's it?
That's it. And Air Force cannot stop a nosebleed, let alone in a high altitude nosebleed, because this game's at Air Force. Beautiful campus. If you've never been, it's an absolutely gorgeous campus. I went out there to visit. When I was looking to go to the Air Force Academy, before they told me absolutely not, I visited it. Beautiful campus out in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get accepted. So then I looked at the Naval Academy and they said, what Air Force say? They said, no. They said, well, we're not going to say yes either. It's absolutely not. So both of these schools said no to me. So this is the Mike Nealon, absolutely not special, over 34.5. Take it all day, $200 bet.
$200 bet. 34.5, man. That is a low number. And you're right. Navy is.
I think Navy maybe covers this on their own. I think Navy goes out there and blows the doors off Air Force.
So I'm going to admit, to your delight, I don't know anything about either of these teams other than their service.
I thought you were going to say you didn't support the troops.
I do support the troops. But 34.5 is the typical Vegas, like, man, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. It feels like they have to go over. It feels like Vegas is baiting us on this one. But I'm gonna ride with you. 34.5.
If you don't ride with me, you don't support the troops.
You already told me last week you don't care if I ride with you or not. So I do support the troops, and I'm going to take your 34.5 over because it just is so tantalizing. It's like that's 18. That's 18 to 17. That's an easy win, right?
I don't think we have time to do our "How do we feel about the world right now" segment.
We don't.
We may need these guys.
Well, I know. I'm looking at what you're drinking there, and so I know how you feel about your night.
Yeah,
you're ready for bed.
Yeah. So love that. That's the Mike Nealon did not get accepted special.
I got it. Mortgage bet number 1. So we have $400 in bets. Are these both $300 bets?
These are both $300 bets.
All right.
James Madison at Louisiana Monroe.
Oh, you're going to take another over, aren't you?
So if you think that Vegas is teasing us with, or Vegas knows something with that over line,
yeah,
let me talk to you about this over. 48.5.
Oh, man. Madison has scored, 71 and 60 points in back-to-back weeks?
The first team to do that in 13 years or something.
Oh.
And they're going to Louisiana Monroe, who's not exactly what I would call the Great Wall of defense.
And how many points? How many points was the over/under at?
48.5.
Oh, this is even worse than the last one.
So I don't know if
is someone hurt? I mean,
I don't know if the hurricane hit James Madison's campus and they haven't been able to practice. I don't know. I was too lazy to do too much research on this. I just saw the over and said,
I'm gonna have to edit that out.
It said that is insane that it is over 48.5 on a team that scored 70. And I was like, well, let me just go look at the team defensive rankings on LA Monroe. And they're not even a good defense. Let me just read you the team defense right here for Louisiana Monroe. It's not even, hold on. Let me tell the people.
This is great podcasting.
Here's the team defense for Louisiana Monroe in the country. Overall, yards 98th, passing defense 78th, rushing 128th, points 154th, third down percentage 179th. That's not great.
So your hypothesis here is James Madison should cover this by themselves. They should be over.
I'm just saying between the two they should They should win.
I mean, they put what, 61 on North Carolina? Holy cow.
Yeah, because the offense, here's James Madison's offense. Overall, 32nd, 67th in passing, 46th in rushing, 12th in points. Like, this should hit. I don't see how this doesn't hit.
Okay.
I'm taking the over. It's a $300 mortgage bet. Let's get closer to break even this year. Join me in this.
Okay.
With the caveat, I didn't check on if James Madison campus got destroyed.
I will make sure I check before I put this on the internet.
Yeah.
And we can roll it back if we have to.
Yeah, just put a little asterisk on the Instagram post, like
sure,
assuming their campus did not get
it's
destroyed.
Still there. All right, last mortgage bet, $300.
All right. Dallas is going to Pittsburgh. I am so sick of Pittsburgh. They don't have a quarterback. You know firsthand. Justin Fields sucks.
I think they have a quarterback. I like Justin Fields.
All right, then I'm not even going to get into my analysis here. Here's the deal. This is a money line bet. We're going to
Your analysis is Justin Fields sucks. He's a 3-0 quarterback who's been playing great, solid, not turning the ball over, not making mistakes, not fumbling it.
Here's my analysis. Dallas is a better team than their record shows. Pittsburgh is a worse team than their record shows. Dallas is a money line bet this week. $300 mortgage bet. End the podcast.
What's the odds?
I don't know. Didn't even need to look at them.
So they're underdogs. You're taking the Dallas money line.
They're 2.5-point dogs in Pittsburgh. Didn't need to see the odds.
Well, I mean, I just want to see how much money you're going to make on this bet. They're plus 110.
There we go.
Dallas money line plus 110 at Pittsburgh.
That's pretty much even.
It is pretty much even. Hey, it's positive return on your $100. Or $300 at that point. All right, so we got Louisville and SMU over 56.5. Jacksonville, who has not won a game going on the road. No, sorry, they're at home. -3 over Indianapolis. Navy Air Force, God, it is so tempting. 34.5. You're taking the over for $200. First mortgage bet, James Madison and Louisiana Monroe to go over 48.5. That's a $300 mortgage bet. And then your second mortgage bet is Dallas money line plus 110 over the Steelers. Those are your $1,000 bets, Mike. I hope we get closer to zeroing this thing out. And now you can go to bed. You have had a 30 hours of podcasting that has been fantastic. You've set a record. You deserve some sleep, especially after what Maverick put you through tonight.
I actually have to go do some Excel spreadsheeting.
Oh, brother, I'm so sorry. Get your spreadsheeting done, and we'll talk to you next week, see how we did.
Can't wait, man.
But don't forget, Mr. McMahon, next week, you and I are covering it, and freedrop.org. Come visit us, see what we have to offer you, and also we have a crowdfunding platform that we started, Indiegogo, that we want you to go visit as well. So check us out on our website. You can see all of our support information there, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Mike.
Later.
All right. Whew. You gotta be tired. You look tired.
We're good. I get fired up for this.